I recently attended the District 1 Town Hall in Colorado Springs. It's my district. It's hosted by Councilman Dave Donelson, and that was at the end of November. And this is just a brief intro on what happened in this town hall. We talked about things like homelessness. We talked about the GoCOS app. We talked about civic engagement, getting the community more involved in attending town halls, city council meetings, and just being more involved in voicing their opinions on the things that matter most to them. For those of you who were not able to attend, Springs Taxpayers United actually was also there filming this, but I don't think they covered all of it. Nothing against Springs Taxpayers United. They do a lot of coverage of all the town halls here. I think they do a great job of that. This is just another video of that. I had no idea they were filming until halfway through the video when Dave Donelson brought it up. But I got to meet with Dave afterward and just talk to him a bit more about his desire to be on social media, to use that to engage with the public, especially with residents in his district more, to be able to hear from them. And so hopefully that is something that he starts working toward. And by the way, if you have any questions based on this content, any thoughts, ideas, anything you want to complain about, please put it down in the video down below. I'm looking to have engagement from anybody in Colorado Springs, but especially people who live in District 1. And so in the meantime, this is a video where you get to see what happened at the town hall. Here you go.
We're north of Fillmore, all the way up into the Northgate area, to where it borders the Air Force Academy. Is that clear? Okay.
And I think this would be interesting. Can you point out the other divisions kind of
yeah,
as part
sure.
of the city?
I'm so sorry.
As part as that?
So if we're northwest, that's Falcon, southwest is Gold Hill, and southeast is Sand Creek, and the northeast is Stetson Hills. So the four divisions are about 2,000 roadway miles, and Falcon, I think we have 200 roadway miles, and about 150,000 people just in Falcon division alone. So we multiply that by 4, you get an idea of how many residents, roadway miles we have in the rest of the city. And that's all patrolled by however many cops are at any given time. So kind of specific questions do you can I answer for you, maybe? Sir.
Let's see, my name is John Kirshen. I'm District 1, and I live off of Lemonwood Drive. And I was just wondering about homeless people. Last year, right behind Lemonwood Drive is an open space. Mm-hmm. It's an open space that borders on that park that's down there.
Oh, well.
You know it well. Okay. So anyway, there was some homeless people that set up a camp behind our house. And so anyway, I just went over to Falcon Division and asked somebody there, how do I report that? And they suggested, they gave me the telephone number, the non-emergency telephone number for the police department. And I did that. The next morning I called there, outside within business hours, I guess. Normal business hours, so it wasn't an emergency, it wasn't a panic.
Right.
It was just somebody setting up a camp, and I didn't think that was right. And I did check the sign on Arundel Park, and Arundel Park has got a sign there. It's clearly marked as not being available for camping or anything like that. So anyway, I figured we were clean there. So anyway, I just went over there to Falcon Division and asked how to report that thing, and so I called and reported it to. And the person that I talked to on the phone said they were going to report it to this homeless team,
right?
The hot team.
Yeah. So the homeless outreach team is managed by a supervisor, Sergeant Ollie Cheney, been in the department for quite a while. The best way to report that, and for a lot of those kind of quality of life complaints, is GoCOS. That's now a website and actually an app. It's a portal to make those kinds of complaints to the city.
And I did that too.
Perfect, yeah, so you did everything right.
Okay,
Because you're
now,
right, that ordinance is no
The question
cannons.
that I have, that I do not have an answer to, is what kind of feedback should the homeowner get? Now, you know, I guess I was in large corporations for long enough to understand there's all kinds of privacy rules and all kinds of crap like that
Sure,
that
right.
everybody has to abide by. But what kind of feedback should I expect from the hot team?
Did you get any feedback on?
I got nothing.
How long ago was this?
Oh, it was last summer.
Okay. Normally, if your information is provided to the hot team, I actually had a meeting with Sergeant Cheney just this week on a different, similar topic, not too far away. And normally, if he's aware of the issue, that your information comes directly to him, then he will get back with you.
Okay.
I can't say what happened in that instance. If you go to the GoCOS app, I'm not sure what that looks like on the back end. But I know if you make a phone call as a citizen, and you ask to be contacted by anybody responding, normally that's what happens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but last year I'm not sure what happened in that case. But I'm familiar with the area, and you're right.
I did not ask for feedback.
Okay,
I know that.
okay. And that may be as simple as why you didn't hear anything.
Okay. So it kind of is on me a little bit because I didn't ask for feedback. That might have been the case. Or it could have been the case that it just got dropped somehow or another.
Did you see a change?
No, well, they left a couple weeks later,
Okay.
but it just got cold too, so.
Right, so
I don't know whether or not what I did from a phone call standpoint did anything or not, but they left.
it's definitely plausible. And so Sergeant Cheney's team, they have 6 officers that do that regularly. That's their only job. So they have a queue of calls like yours to tackle. So it could take a week, 2, maybe longer. It could be next day. I have no idea.
Okay.
So I know it goes into a queue, and then they tackle those one at a time.
Okay, well, they left, and I don't know why.
Well, I do. It's because I took pictures of them all the time. They were smoking and doing a lot of stuff that you shouldn't be doing in a neighborhood park. And they saw me taking the pictures, and I'm sure they expected this hot team out any minute.
So you took ownership. I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah, I had plenty of pictures and
Yeah.
smoking and in a city park and
Yeah, that GoCOS is probably the best way to do that right now. But if it's something I would say if it's something that's more emergent, they're doing something that you see as criminal as opposed to just camping out in a city park, which is also something you can cite them for. But something advanced like that, then that would be maybe a phone call with a little more minute, right? Is that a cert? You're good?
I'm good.
Okay. Thanks, appreciate it. There's another one out there, I didn't see where it came from. There was 2 hands, and that's all I remember. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
You said you're a detective for retail?
I was.
You what? Okay, so what is your role again now? I'm sorry.
So now I'm the crime prevention. Did I not say that when I first walked up here?
You did, but maybe you should explain. why-
Sure, I'm sorry. Let's start with that. Go back up a few minutes. So crime prevention officer is what I do now. There are 4 of us in the city. In our roles, we manage the neighborhood watch program, number 1. Number 2, we respond to some of the issues that you just talked about on a case-by-case basis. We also provide a number of presentations on things like active shooter, verbal de-escalation, personal safety, things like that. We do that, that's a full day thing. And like I said, there are only 4 of us in the whole city doing that. And thanks for reminding me, there's a bunch of literature in the back table where you signed in from. And all that pertains to what these 4 officers do. And my business card is back there as well. I was gonna say that at the very end, but I'll say that now. So take something with you if you'd like, but my business cards are back there as well. So if you have something that you don't want to talk about here tonight, here's your outlet. Go ahead.
Can you answer how many current detectives there are for crimes, whether they be residential, for, people that are getting their houses or garages broken into?
Sure.
They'll come to the car and break in the car, get the garage opener, open up to the garage,
Yep.
and then they come into the house.
So I will tell you, there are 4, field investigative units, to put it like that. They're all part of VNI right now. Those 4, there are.
What is VNI?
Sorry. So Metro VNI is basically the Vice Narcotics Investigations Unit right here. What these 4 units do, one is assigned to persons crimes, so like assaults, not homicides, just assaults. They're based out of Sand Creek. The one in the northeast part, Stetson Hills, they're assigned for things like burglaries. And then the one in the southwest part of town is more like the simple thefts, criminal mischief, things like that. And then the one at Falcon is assigned to the retail crime, pawn, and metal theft. It varies based on time of year, occupancy or vacancies, that kind of stuff, but they're about 4 or 5 per unit.
Yeah. Is there a way to find out how we would find out what's the response time, or like, if, say this happened to someone, and what's the time as far as this person may have gotten caught, or they've caught him on 6 other homes that they burglarized?
Right.
Is there any way to track that? I mean, because obviously that sounds like a small number for detectives
Right.
throughout the whole city.
For sure.
And I mean, my husband used to be a detective for CSPD for 34 years.
Oh, wow. Who's
So he did crime, robbery and homicide when he started.
Okay.
So I know their caseloads are huge, because I've heard many stories. Yeah, I've heard it all. So that I know they're overloaded. So, and they probably have less now than they did back then.
So by statute, we're required to contact victims, especially burglaries right now, that's victims crime. So we're required to contact them when there's resolution in the case, or if there's no resolution in the case, your case is inactive,
Right.
which means we haven't solved it, but, inactive or not working, open, we haven't solved it, or cleared by arrest, we filed with the DA's office, whatever. We're required to make that kind of notification. Your point is correctly on spot. Those 4 or 5 detectives, they're working hopefully pattern crimes. That's their emphasis, because the methodology is we're trying to catch not the low-hanging fruit, but the people that are actually creating problems for the entire city.
Yeah.
So their caseloads are more geared towards those criminals, as opposed to the 1-time or 2-time shoplifters. If that makes any sense.
Right.
So it could be some time, and if it isn't assigned, you will get a notification one or the other. It just could be some time before that actually happens. And that's based on caseload, for sure. What else? Who's your husband? I got to ask now.
Bill Tinkle. So you probably came on probably 2010 is when he retired.
Okay, so I came on in 07, so we probably had a couple years over. I was a midnight patrol cop. I didn't see a lot of people.
Yeah, he was at
Well, my family, for that matter.
Crazy basketball player.
He's a crazy basketball player.
Nice.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, you know, the others are retiring, so the youngers come in and, you know, they're like, who?
You see my height. I don't play basketball, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't cross paths at all. Sorry.
Right.
Somebody else raise a hand. Yes, ma'am.
You know, I wonder, something that for me is sort of a nuisance item nowadays is when I go someplace out in public and am smelling marijuana and know that people are smoking, using. I mean, I find that a violation, you know, because it's something that I, you know, totally am against. But, you know, is there anything that we can do, you know, because I know it's just so prevalent.
So you're not supposed to smoke in the outdoors. Personal property inside your home, that's on them, right? And I get no problem with that. Outdoors in public especially, right, that's a different discussion. If you've driven by any parts of town, sometimes you catch them just by driving by. The aroma itself isn't necessarily something that's criminal, it's where they're doing it. So if they're out in the open smoking, that's a violation, that's something we can look at. That GoCOS, again, might be a good way to report that, because to be all honest with you, it's the totem pole, but down here. How soon we can get there to investigate it, right, that could be a discussion. That'd be a problem for us as well.
But again, maybe if there's a pattern that.
So that's what I was going to get to. Thank you. So if you're seeing a pattern of what you think is a pattern of use that is criminal, then that would be a time to make a report. You can do that online. You can make a report online, again, through GoCOS. So GoCOS kind of goes in 2 different directions. One is for you to actually go do online reporting through GoCOS, and that's to report a criminal incident to CSPD, or it's a complaint, if you will, for potholes or anything else you might have.
Okay.
Yep. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you. Another question, and maybe it's code enforcement, I'm not sure. You know, like my neighbors have a bunch of extra cars around all the time.
Yep.
And two of them have been parked on the opposite side of their backyard. Now, for the past several months, there's been one parked like in the middle of the backyard, but facing my back fence. And, you know, is there anything that says they can't have a car back there?
Yeah, so I'm a little fuzzy on what the backyard stuff is, but if it's on a city street, there's a code enforcement violation for that. And once again, my answer is going to be go COS, because they'll take those code enforcement violations. They'll take those. So if you're not sure what it is, you know, put it out there and see that they get back to you on that. That's what I would do. There are a couple of others I keep forgetting who they were. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
I want to thank you and your other fellow officers for keeping Colorado Springs safe, but greatly appreciate what you guys do to keep us safe and secure in our homes and about our community. I do want to tout GoCOS. I've used it a number of times to report traffic sign missing, it got stolen, or traffic signal being inoperable, people camping in drainage areas, affecting the waterway and stuff like that. I found it to be people to be very responsive.
Yeah, I've used it myself. Yeah. I mean, for same kind of stuff in my neighborhood, for potholes in my neighborhood, so I know it works.
Question I have, and I'm an interloper. I'm actually in District 6, so I'm here today.
You have to leave now, Joe.
Kick me out. You know, Barnes and Peterson, during the summer months, late at night, hearing racing, you know, people drag racing down the Peterson and along Barnes. You know, as soon as you hear it, they're gone. Right. 2 seconds later. Probably not much you can do about it other than just register that you hear from time to time.
Yeah, so, and I've had a similar issue in the Peregrine area just recently, and the way we can address that is by putting officers out there. Sometimes we have officers available to patrol that area exclusively for those reasons. We have deployments sometimes that do that. It just kind of depends on the time of year and budget, to be honest with you. And that's really the best way for us to tackle that, is to put officers out there and lay in wait, right?
Have visibility.
Or visibility is slowing down, right? That's really the best thing we can do right now. We've done things like speed surveys, or put the traffic trailers out there and things like that. Those guys really don't care for the traffic trailers.
They probably like them.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. They clap them for them, right? Yeah. Free of charge. You know, the problem is they're racers. Yeah. You know, and I don't know where you grew up, but where I grew up, running from the cops, you know, with a fast car was kind of a cool thing to do. So they be careful when you do that, right? So yeah, it's a problem all over the city. I agree with you. Yes, sir. To your problem, your area specifically, do you know MJ Thompson?
Yeah.
So he would be the person I would refer you to for specifically that part of town. And when we're done here, I can give you the information if you like.
I'm a hop, skip, and a jump away. I have no excuse for not going down.
That's okay. One of the things I have back there has a barcode on there. I'm sorry, a QR code. If you scan that QR code, it'll bring us right to our crime prevention website, and then you can see where in town you are and who your CPO is. MJ Thompson's your guy.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I apologize for being late. I first heard about this at 5 to 5 today. I haven't heard about it, but I have major issues and questions and major concerns about the negative impact that the Parks Department is doing with the Blodgett Master Plan. Mm-hmm. Crime is one thing. I've tried to contact you, and then I've emailed you. I'm Sandy Sutter in Alpine Glen area, and there are a lot of neighbors who are up in arms, and you know, we don't have time in our lives to babysit and run and chase down and find out what the Parks Department is hiding in their publicized plan, because there's obviously more things they're planning that they're not, otherwise they wouldn't be expanding. So one of the things as far as crime-wise for you, my question is, they're wanting to expand the parking lots hugely, and directly across the street from Alpine Glen, and then the Centennial Glen too.
Yeah, I've seen the plan. Yeah.
And just by it, I'm curious as to what the reason is for expanding that, first of all, because by adding a few extra trails is not going to call for a 5 times size parking lot.
Right.
And to have it directly across the street from us, it's gonna bring in way more people that are going to be sitting in their cars, doing drugs, drinking, casing the houses there. And so crime-wise, that's a major concern for all the adjacent neighborhoods, actually, Oak Valley as well.
Were you at the Paragon HOA meeting last 2 weeks ago?
I missed it, I had
Okay.
some legal stuff in flow.
So we covered a little bit of that, and I'd be happy to talk to you offline too, because that could be more of a specific topic. I'm not gonna speak for Parks and Rec, I'm not their guy. What I will tell you is that I have spoken with Parks and Rec. I've spoken with traffic too, because I know there are issues with stop signs, so I'm
Yeah,
familiar with.
that'd be a nightmare.
So I've seen the email chain, just, I'm privy to that, some of that stuff, and all of it, but some of that stuff. I'm not gonna speak for them. I don't work for them. What I will say is that with authority, that they are listening, absolutely listening to you guys. I'm not gonna tell you what their plans may or may not be, that's not for me to talk about, it's not my plan. But I will absolutely tell you they're listening.
So from the crime side, as that crime
Right.
increases, because it will if they do what
So
they're proposing.
and I've spoke with them about that too, but I've offered some suggestions about things that, well, so one of the things we do is crime prevention as part of the CPO program. We survey new builds in the whole city. If there's a new build or a change to a build, we review that plan. And that's something we would review. And so I've looked at some of that and said,
Which
well,
would increase the police presence there, because right now we have one cop that can respond to that area, from what I've been told from the
Budget peak.
so,
Budget
like I
peak,
said, it
open
depends on
space.
what's going on there, but first of all, it's a 10-year plan. You already know that. Looking at building the next 2 years starting that plan. But there are suggestions that I have made to parks to say, hey, are there some lighting options, some low-level lighting options? There are some things that we've talked about. Like I said, they are listening, and I'm not want to speak for them because they have their own plans, and we've had those discussions, but I want to speak for them.
Yeah, I was just
We can
curious
align
as
a
to
little bit.
what the police department, I mean, and I don't expect you to answer what their plans
Sure.
are, but how the police department would respond as that crime will increase.
So we respond with resources we have on any given day, even right now. And part of what we talked about with parks, we say, hey, maybe one of the things that we can do up front when that parking lot opens, is to have officers there, maybe even extra duty officers, to patrol that area specifically to tackle those kinds of problems. In addition to the recommendations that we've made to say, hey, this parking this big, is lighting going to be there? Are there signs posted? What are the things that you're doing to minimize crime up front, to prevent problems before they get out of hand? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's like, I hear all this, and then by adding all these lights, even if it's low lighting stuff, it's like,
Sure.
it's so taken away from the area.
I live in the north part of town, and after about a few years, they put in John Venezia Park, huge open space. That became a huge area for people to have fun. And I was like you, I got it. Like I had concerns too, and I know I went to meetings just like you have done, and said, hey, look, there are some things we'd like to see happen, and I'm or not happen. And they were listening then too, and I am with authority. I'm going to tell you they are listening to what you're talking about. I know they are. I've seen evidence of that.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're between the lines a little bit. Okay, sorry. That's all I can say.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to hear how the crime response is.
Sure, we've talked about it a
could be.
lot. It's been a topic
Okay.
for me.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. What else? It's a lot of time. Yes, sir.
Chuck, I guess I have to leave with you because I'm not in District 1. I'm in the down District 4 area. And that is my question regarding boundaries. Now, I can see clearly the boundaries of all the districts. But people talk about Southeast. And I'm from the Southeast. You don't get further Southeast than me. I'm right in Vernon Road and Hancock. And it seems to me that when crimes happen, and it happens in the so-called Southeast, that it's at a certain area, they highlight that a lot. But then when it goes across the airport or something like next to Platte, well, no, we're not in Southeast. And my hopes one day, instead of me going to each meeting, like planning meeting, and they have their maps that says this is what Southeast is, and we go to the police department, I'm pretty sure you know what the boundaries are. But Sand Creek is considered Southeast as far as we're concerned. But there's a lot more around, like over the airport. If you talk to plans in the airport is not part of Southeast. So I'm just gonna keep going around to all these meetings and find out we get one map and say, this is what Southeast, Northeast, or whatever it is.
Yeah, so I mean, and the DC can probably speak to this a little more than I can, but the boundaries that the police abide by are strictly which division occupies or has a presence in that part of town. When I say southeast, I'm thinking Sand Creek division, right? When I say northwest, I'm thinking Falcon. Not what you're thinking of sometimes, or anyone else might think of in terms of where the voting districts might be, or the utilities districts, or the school districts might be. It's all overlaps, right? It's about, I get your point. Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, I'm Woody Longhorn.
I would.
Hey, Woody.
Hey,
Good to see you.
I can see there's a lot of demands placed on you guys. What are these people in these community service cars that you see in town?
The green stripes, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're civilian employees. They're not armed. They're not sworn officers, first and foremost. What they do is take a huge load off of patrol by responding to things that aren't emergent, that require a uniform response. So sometimes they respond to burglaries, and they'll collect evidence, and they do a great job, by the way. They write better reports on than me. They can do a lot of the things, traffic control for serious accidents, which back in the day would have taken 4 or 5 cop cars. Maybe one cop car is taking the accident. They have 3 CSRs, excuse me, they changed their name. Oh yeah, right, CSOs are the ones in the car, sorry. CSOs can be there to perform traffic control and do some investigative work even for those kinds of accidents. So they are civilian employees, but we've seen that program grow a lot in the last 10 years because they are hugely effective.
Yeah, I see a lot of those cars now.
Yeah, it's they do a lot of work, and they get my thanks every day.
It's like the drug issue that she was talking about. Is that something that would be more criminal? So people, they couldn't maybe do that.
They can investigate criminal things that aren't in progress.
Oh.
But there's a burglary in progress. If you're home and someone's in your house, they're not going to respond. They're not armed. They don't have tools they can have.
Can't be a suspect of body.
Correct. Right.
If I could just add something, Brian, but the folks in those cars, the CSOs, how many of them are there, Dave, running around?
We have staffing up to 24.
Okay.
Right now, we're in the 20, 21 range.
Okay, but they have an academy they go through. It's like abbreviated, it's not the police academy, but it's real training. They have a uniform they wear. They have graduation when they finish the academy. We see some of us on city council attend that. So and some of them move on and become police officers. In fact, probably a good percentage of them do that. So they're a real resource, and really that's the idea, is rather than having a sworn officer at a fender bender or something like that, protecting people from running into that collision, CSOs can cover that kind of thing, a lot of other stuff. So they do a real service for us.
24 hours a day?
No.
I don't think so.
Because I was going to say, for me, one of the scary things this time of year with being so dry is all these warming fires, and
Yeah.
I don't, it's sometimes seems like it's just out of control. When it's going to start, how you can be ahead of it. Who can see it first, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Fire.
What kind of call is that, Brian? If a citizen saw with them homeless and they have a fire going and they're worried, hey, this could spark up the.
You're going to call 911. You can probably get 2 responses, us and FD.
Okay, so it's 911. It's not a non-emergent.
No, not at all.
Okay.
All
right.
Navy does. But yeah, he would respond, and then they indicate whether or not it felt like Navy does.
And I think, I promised Brian, 6 o'clock, but I want to add one thing and then have him and Deputy Chief Edmondson correct me if I'm wrong on this, or just add into it. Part of the issue for citizens is you see the homeless camps and you're like, why the hell can't anyone ever do anything about this? And so I looked into this because a citizen was contacting me about these folks who were camping on the trail in Monument Valley Park. And I was like, all right, we're gonna fix this because they're camping near the water. So that's like an additional level of violation. You can't do that. And so it was a hot team it was an email chain. they went out. But if they arrest them, okay, you're camping near the water, I'm arresting you, you're going to jail. So we think, okay, good, they're gonna be locked up for a while. The way our state legislature has passed the laws, within 48 hours, those folks have to be in front of a judge to get a bond hearing, correct? And I've talked to our city attorneys about this, that's why I'm gonna tell you what I know. Within 48 hours, and they will get a personal recognizance bond. They'll be released with no money on the table. They're gonna get out. So, and if they're cited, then they have to come to court, whenever that is. Let's say it's a month later. Well, let's say they no-show the court. They don't show up. So then the police come back out. Let's say they get reported again, and they arrest them again. 48 hours, they have to have another hearing, and they're going to get released on a PR bond, and they're going to be back out again. And they do it again a third time. And I asked the attorneys, I was like, okay, when is it we can hold them in jail because they've missed their court dates so many times? And guess what? That's the way the state law is. They will not be held in jail because they've missed their court hearing 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. So that's one of the frustrations. I mean, I want to solve the problem. I know these guys want to solve the problem, and that's not the only solution to homelessness, but part of it is to punish the ones who are camping right on the creeks and making the trails where citizens can't use the trails, or they're scared to use the trails. But, you know, elections have consequences, and our governor and our state legislature have decided it's not fair to keep those people locked up. Is there anything about that that's inaccurate?
No, I think you're pretty much spot on.
David? And now it looks like I stirred the beehive, and there's more questions, but I don't want to make Brian stay here later.
So to be fair, I've dedicated the night to be here, so I'm not at any risk of.
Okay.
I'll defer to DC.
Okay, for what you asked for.
Time card.
So if we'll do a few more, then we'll go like another 10 minutes, but at 45, if we're not done with the law questions, I'm going to give you a kind of a overview of city council and answer. There's probably a lot of other questions besides law enforcement. Although I've said this and I keep saying it, this is I think it's the number one thing citizens want out of city government. Before anything else, you want to be safe and have an orderly, disciplined downtown trails where you can enjoy it. But there were more hands going up, so go ahead.
What are you going to do? What does Denver let us do to them if they do show up for court? 48
What
hours
is
and then they got to be
the
released? Penalty
for camping near the creek? Honestly, I don't remember that off the top of my head. The sad part to me is we can't even keep the guy in jail, so he'll be at the court date. I mean, do most of those guys look like, yeah, they're you know, they've got their day timer and they're going to be looking at it and make it to court?
Yep.
Yes.
You contacted other communities that have, because I was in LA when the feds told them they had to clear them out, they had to house them for 30 days, they had to need social services to help them find places.
I don't think we're going to take.
Contacted any other community.
I don't think we're going to take our guidance from LA.
No. Well, Eugene, Oregon, I know it's left, but they had the problem.
Okay.
Protesters came in town, they refused to leave the city park. They did something I can't remember, and they cleared them out.
Okay, well, I'll keep that in mind. Were there any other questions, especially law enforcement kind of questions for Brian?
Just 2 quick ones, hopefully quick. Is Colorado Springs a place where a cop can simply stop someone and ask them for ID for no reason, just because they're interested?
No. So yes.
I don't need to go any further. That's fine.
No.
And secondly, are police officers, is it either policy or law here in Colorado Springs that they're required to identify themselves if asked?
Yeah. Yeah. If you ask me for who I am, then I'll absolutely tell you who I am.
But I mean, you would.
Oh no. Yes.
Is it required?
Answer your question is yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's not so plain as that. Are you asking from a legal perspective what the law says?
Either law or policy in Colorado Springs. So if a Colorado Springs police officer came up to me and said, hey, I'd like to see your ID. I'm walking home and I've done nothing wrong, nothing illegal. Am I required to show them my ID or am I allowed to proceed on my way?
You don't have to show me right.
Right, okay.
That's called contact.
That was the answer. So then the second one was simply just, if I ask a police officer for their name and badge number, are they required to respond? Either the policy
You
of Colorado
made
Springs.
contact with them.
Let's say they came up to me.
If they came up to you and they made contact, then yes, we are required to do that.
Got it, okay, thank you.
It's not budget. Just curious, the illegal immigration, what is the status of illegal immigrants in the Springs? And
That would be the Ritz Hotel.
To be fair, I am not your undocumented citizen immigrant guy. I'm not, that's not my forte.
It's really a federal issue.
well, I guess,
Well, I mean-
if it's like, as far as if it's increasing crime, if the police department has noticed that there's more crime committed by illegal immigrants.
I have seen no information that would say that those people are committing more crimes than proportional to everybody else. I haven't seen that. I don't know that. I wouldn't be able to answer that question. Maybe DC could, but I certainly cannot.
But I'll give you the city council answer on that, and is it Sandy?
Mhm.
Yeah, Sandy. Denver hung out the shingle as a sanctuary city. Colorado Springs never did that. When, I don't remember, was it last year? Buses started going to Denver. The county commissioners, the city council, the mayor made it clear, you've got what you asked for. Don't ask us to pick up your slack, essentially. And from what I see, it's really just newspapers, things like that. It is private organizations, certain, a lot of times it's religious groups that are trying to relocate illegal aliens, assist them, and some will come here through that, but not through city, county.
Right, but bus loads are still left off at
I don't
Lowe's on
believe
Monday.
that's happening here.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
Well,
Was.
we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Was.
It was.
We'll talk about that later on, but not aware of that. No citizen has ever brought that to my attention, that that's going on here. Now, again, I have seen it in the paper that, I believe Lutheran Services is one that is assisting and bringing people here. But again, that's not Brian's lane, and that's about all I have on that one. Any other lock them up kind of questions? Yes? One in the back?
Just gonna comment on that. I'm a volunteer with Lutheran Refugee Services, and they have documented refugees that they settle here. They don't work with undocumented.
Okay.
The Ukrainians weren't vetted.
Okay. Anything else? Because we will have to be out of here at 7, and
Please
that is
take
kind
time
of
to
a
take
federal
review. My
issue.
card is back at the table. Any materials back there, I'll stay to the end to piece them back up, but
Yeah.
if you want to take it, please. Appreciate it.
Okay. And now we'll transition to the city council portion of this. So these are the 6 city council districts, right? This is District 1 here. This is Fillmore at the bottom. And this is Academy right here. So it even sticks, actually it's Academy right here. It goes a little bit over Academy, but mostly it's all back that way. The Woodman up here. That's District 1. District 2 is up here. I represent District 1. Randy Helms represents District 2. Michelle Tallarico represents District 3 down by the Broadmoor. And she's new. She was just elected about a year ago in, just this April. And that's unusual because, and the reason that happened was because Stephanie Fortune stepped down from city council, and sadly she passed away shortly after that from cancer. The elections for all 6 of us will be coming up, not this coming April, but the one after, so April of 25. Even though Michelle Tallarico just got elected, she has to run for re-election, April of 25. Number 4 is Yolanda Avila. This is that southeast part of the city that we were hearing about. 5 is the center part of town, pretty much, and that is Nancy Henjum. And then 6 is out east, and that is Mike O'Malley there. So that's 6. Does that mean we have 6 city council people? 9.
3 at
What are the
large.
other 3? That's right, so then there's 3 at large. Those won't be up for re-election until, 4 years from this April. So whatever that is, 27. Who knows who they are? Alex, you can't play. So that's kind of interesting.
Dave Ledbetter.
David Lineweber, yep, who thought he might be here tonight, but he's not, and that's okay. So Lineweber, who else? Lynette Crow Iverson. And what's the other one? Brian Risley. You win. So there's 9 of us. It's important, and you see we're off cycle. So every 2 years there's going to be an election. This year it really should have just been the 3 at-larges. 2 years from this year it'll be the 6 districts. 2 years after that, the 3 at-larges. Takes 5 votes to do stuff. So, like, if you're concerned about Blodgett, and let's say you like what the Parks Department passes, then good, or what they approve, and it would be the Parks Board, which is appointed by council. If you like it, good. If you think, boy, that's not what we wanted, then my understanding is it can be appealed to council, but you're going to need 5 votes. That's why it really matters who those people are. Like those 3 at-larges that just got elected. That's 3 votes right there. So when the elections are coming around, it's not just your 1 district person, that matters, that's me, but the other 8 of them are gonna have a huge influence. And that's hugely important. Just yesterday, we voted on a zone change, very close to here, Flint Ridge and Academy, if anyone can picture where that is in your head. And I'll go over that here in just a second. We meet, City Council meets essentially twice a month on Monday and Tuesday. So the 2nd and the 4th Monday and Tuesday of each month in general is when we meet. December's is, we only meet once that month. Monday is a work session. Monday, the idea is City Council departments present stuff to us, or organizations present stuff to us. Next Monday, it's actually December 11th, at a work session, I've asked for the planning department to come talk to us about the zoning for the downtown area. Right now, it's zoned with no maximum height restriction on buildings. So you may have seen something in paper. And so we're going to look at that. This is my driving this. My idea to look at, does that make sense? Is that good for Colorado Springs? Is that what the citizens of Colorado Springs want, is no height restriction? Right now, I think tallest building is 254 feet. It's the Wells Fargo building. Would it make sense to have a restriction on height? There is everywhere else, in the city. It's just that downtown core, so we're gonna get into that. Now, citizens can't comment during a work session like that. We have citizen comment on those Tuesdays. So I almost need a map of the month up here. But on those Tuesdays, one of the things we do is we have citizen comment. Citizens come and speak for 3 minutes on any topic they want, as long as it's not on the agenda that day. Did I reply to your email, Sandy? I did, right?
You did.
And I had some dates in there, right? I gave you this is when we meet. Yeah. And that was kind of like what I'm hinting at is come and speak to council, even early, like this. We'll be meeting again. It's December 11th, and then is the work session. The regular session is December 12th, and at that regular session, you could come in there and talk to us about Blodgett. You could come in there and talk to us about law enforcement or whatever it is. Homeless near my house. And it's useful, especially if there's an issue, hey, the council is going to be voting on this and within a month or 2 months. Because it starts council realizing, hey, citizens are dialed in on this, they're concerned about it, and that has an impact. So, sounds like, hey, they only work 4 days a month, right? That Monday, Tuesday. There's a lot of other stuff that happens. As I think you know, City Council also sits as the board of directors of Colorado Springs Utilities. And so I think, honestly, a lot of citizens don't know that. I think it's good. We get to, we represent you over at Utilities also. We learn, who it is, who are the folks over at Utilities, who's the CEO, who's the chief financial officer, who are those people? And I think that's very helpful. I forgot we had a CSU representative here, and we do in the back, Christian. So that's another day, and then there are multiple committees at CSU which we are on. So that's more work that we do for you. I'm also on the Board of Health, the El Paso County Board of Health. I'm also on the PPRTA, that organization that kind of funds different road projects. I'm also on PPACG and multiple other committees. So my wife Holly, who's right back there, she can tell you Mr. Dave doesn't get a lot of time off. Like even when I'm home, I'm answering Sandy's emails or somebody's or her friends in Peregrine who took my advice. I told them email, and I told them who to email, and they're doing it, but they're also emailing me. So there's a lot of replies to that. Lots of emails, lots of meetings, a lot of stuff, really. There's different levels of involvement, I'll tell you that, on your council, your different council men and women. I'm retired. I retired from the military. Holly and I came here back in 1991. I was a junior enlisted guy in the Army. I was in military intelligence. I was a Russian linguist. Went on into Special Forces or the Green Berets. Did that for a while. Then went to PA school through the military. Got commissioned as an officer. Went to Iraq a bunch of times as a PA, taking care of American soldiers and helicopter crews and Iraqis. And then when I retired, we took care of my dad who had Alzheimer's. So if any of you have relatives dealing with that, we've done that. And then went back to work as a PA and worked in a few different clinics and ran a men's health center here in town. Why did I end up running for city council? Part of it is my brother is a police officer out in North Carolina, is where he was. And he was a police officer 28 years, retired recently. And when the George Floyd stuff happened, and I saw city councils, in my opinion, throwing fuel on the fire, making things worse, it just turned out that our councilman was retiring, or he was terming out Don Knight, and so I ran for a seat then. So that was a big part of my motivation. I always kind of want to give back. So that's why I did it. What's been going on at City Council? We got 35 minutes. 2A was a big deal, right? I suspect everybody in here voted, because you probably wouldn't be here if you didn't vote. It would be interesting to have you raise your hands, but I won't do it, on who voted yes and no. That was important, okay? And then HH failed at the state level, right? And it failed big time here in El Paso County. I think that was an important message for the mayor, the state legislature, the governor, I meant to say, state legislature, but also the mayor and city council, because I was the only one saying no on 2A during that whole thing. And it turned out that's where the citizens were no on 2A. Make sure I don't miss the important stuff before I open it up to questions. Let me tell you about the zone change, because this is a good example where citizen involvement can make a difference. Before we do that, I do want to reassure Sandy, like the parks thing is like, Parks wants to do this, we're doomed, or whatever the sense is, right? So I've been on council now about 3 years. In April it'll be 3 years, and there was a plan that Parks had, and it wasn't necessarily a bad plan, but it was to stop motorized boating on Prospect Lake. It's been a tradition for almost 100 years, and it was going to become strictly like paddle boarding, stuff like that. And they had a whole plan. And then really it was a small group of voters, one of whom happened to, he's an electrician, and he had worked at our house. And so he contacted me, and we started, he got a group of the voters, and they have a program where they help handicapped people. I've forgotten the exact name of that, but they take them out, what's it called, water skiing. And so they stress the real positive things that they do on the lake as the voters, the tradition of it. It was a real kind of a groundswell of just public, or grassroots desire to maintain this, and it totally turned around. And so we still have boating on that lake. The plan was changed. Parks compromised. That deal was, now I remember this, is we had to aerate the lake because you get the algae in the lake. So the kind of aeration system that was going to be put in would have said no boating, right? And so, we kind of kept asking questions. Well, what else could we do? Is there another system? Why does it have to be that one? And Parks, the city decided, okay, we're going to go with one that isn't quite as powerful, but it'll still allow boating on the lake. So that was a victory, okay? And a lot of times I think citizens get a sense that, I hate to say it, we're doomed. It's just going to happen and we can't stop it. But the Rebecca Marshall back there is with Springs Taxpayers United, and she has also helped out by publicizing stuff. Constitution extension, and there's another example, if you remember that. The city was writing another COS document. It was, it was a Connect COS, I think that's what that one was. And it was the transportation plan for the city for the future. And part of that was going to be to study extending Constitution Avenue through that Bond neighborhood, past Corpus Christi Church, if you know where that is. And then it would go over Monument Valley Park, and then connect up with the highway. And the idea was this study would be put in the Connect COS, not an order, but the recommendation to do this study. And the neighborhoods, working with some of us on council, but it was really the impact of the neighborhoods on the final day at a hearing on a Tuesday, and that, we got that pulled out of Connect COS. It's not in there. And Public Works has actually turned the land over to Parks. So there's another one. So I put that in the email, right? You remember reading all that in there? Or maybe I briefly put it in there that. Okay. I've had some successes. We've had some victories. I had some losses too. I had a couple yesterday. But I had some successes where we've gotten things I think that the citizens really wanted. So what happened yesterday, and this is just going to be a pitch to participate when it comes before council, is Flint Ridge and Academy. Obviously there's four corners. The northwest corner is currently a office building, right? And it sits there. It's a nice quiet office building. It's closed on the weekends, closes at 5 in the afternoons. So there's some homes that are just back, behind it across a parking lot. Does anyone live over there? It's really Ridge Lane, I think, is the street. And so a company that makes big gas stations called Quick Trip has requested to get a zone change. You can't have a gas station there now, but they want to put a gas station at that corner. And it was, when something like that's going to happen, they send these little cards to everybody within 1,000 feet. That's currently the plan. And so 16 neighbors had written back, everyone, please no, here's our reasons why. This is it's 24/7, right? It's going to be open 24/7, 365 days a year. That's a big thing right there. Neighbors were concerned about noise. They're concerned about the homeless could start coming there, and then when they shoo them off the gas station, where are they going to go? they're going to go back across that parking lot to their fences that are on the other end of that parking lot. So yesterday at council, and the thing is, now that's quasi-judicial, right? And I think most of you are pretty plugged in, so I think a lot of you already know what that means. Quasi-judicial means city council is going to act as the judges in a hearing. And it's not fair for the judge to go and talk to all the homeowners and hear their side only and then form his opinion. And then he's already ready to vote no before it even starts. So I can't, in that situation, I can't go and knock on doors and talk to homeowners. They have to write us emails or come and speak on the day of the hearing, which was yesterday. And unfortunately, no one came to speak. They wrote the emails, they did that. I wish, yeah, I'd say it. I wish some had come. Because in the end, the planning commission had approved it I think there's 9 of them, I can't remember. Unanimously, and yesterday on council, there was 1 no vote, and I was that no vote. So, my point is what you're doing right now, do that when things come before council. Alex in the back at that table, he sends out a newsletter of what's going on with council, and I think there's a way where you can get the agendas so you know what's going to be before council, and you can come and speak. So I'll tell you, I won't do that. We'll stop there. So let me see real quick, and then I'm going to take questions. Make sure, I think I had something on the back page.
Real quick, like if you get on his email list, you get the agendas in advance.
Yeah. And so this gentleman here is Jim Bensberg. He's a former county commissioner. He actually came and spoke yesterday on Tuesday at City Council regarding the budget. Yeah, the city budget got passed yesterday. If anyone had a question on that, I'll talk about that. But with that, I think I've touched on all the high points. We'll open the floor up. Sir, would you like to tell us your name and your
Barry Baum.
Barry Baum.
Committee with you.
And so Barry serves on one of our citizen committees. And now Alex can help with this too. There are a lot of citizen committees that we have in Colorado Springs. We want kind of people in this room, really what I want on the committees. Okay, a lot of times I'll say, this is all being recorded, so I'm keeping my personal views kind of neutral here, but we want citizens who are homeowners, paying their taxes, raising their kids, or have done those things, to be on these committees to represent kind of, I don't want to say regular in a bad way, but I'm regular citizens' point of view. So I encourage you to participate in that. We can talk. My cards are over there, and you can find out, hey, how do I get on one of these committees, or how do I apply? What's your question, Barry?
My question is about...
he's going to have a hard question because he's on the audit committee.
Utilities governance.
Oh, gosh.
When we vote for city council members, we vote for them because they're running for city council. We don't get a chance to vote for them as board of directors for utilities. And that is 2 different animals. They may be well qualified for city council, but know nothing about the complexities of a utilities business. So what are the considerations, what needs to be done to look at a different governance model for utilities?
Interesting you would bring that topic up, because today I had coffee with my predecessor, Don Knight, and we talked about this. And when Don Knight ran for council, utilities was a big part of his campaign, because he was running against a good gentleman named Tim Lee. And Tim Lee is a former councilman, doing a lot to really support our police. Tim Lee is the one who ran that campaign. If you saw those big billboards that say cop, if any of you saw any of those around, he's the one that started that and puts some of his own money in on that. Tim, he's also running the campaign. This is really his thing, and I think he and I are going to kind of try to team up on this to make Colorado Springs the safest city in America. And he believes that we can do that. In a way, we don't want to draw too many people here, but it will become a very attractive city because that'll be unique. But we do have to deal with the laws that come from the state. Don Knight ran against Tim Lee in that election. And Tim Lee wanted to do that. He wanted to split council and the board of directors for utilities. And Tim Lee said, hey, he'd been on council for 2 years, and he was running, he had to run again. And he said, I don't have any, I don't really know what I'm doing on utilities. I ran for council, and Don Knight says, well, I know what I'm doing on utilities, so vote for me. And he got elected.
Yeah,
so
and I voted for him for that reason.
So it can be, and you can ask those questions, like, what's your policy about green energy? How are you going to balance out my utility bill versus going, and it's not, and I'll tell you this about utilities, it's not necessarily that the people that work at CSU or the board of directors are like lemmings running off the cliff for green energy, but we have regulations passed by the state, and we have to comply with those. And that is where where a lot of this stuff comes from. The closure of Drake, we had to hit a certain target on CO2 emissions by a certain year. And there are those requirements put in place by the state, or they will come and do things to your utilities which will be much worse. So ask those questions in the campaigns. I think you're going to see stuff about this. Who is it? Scott Hente wrote a letter to the editor saying it's time to split city council and utilities. Today I'll say I disagree with that. I think there is an advantage to citizens to have their council functioning as a utilities board. The water tower, I'm not going to go into it. Again, this is being recorded. And for 28 days after a decision, quasi-judicial decision, it can be taken to court. And so we're advised, and it just makes common sense. Well, it makes good sense. Don't talk about it when people are making up their minds, and whatever you say will be held against you. So I won't discuss it. But it's a one-off, very unique thing
It
that
seems
happened.
to me we need some technical expertise and business expertise, as well as city council members on the utilities board, because there's been a couple of fiascos.
Well, look for that in the candidates. If someone seems to have no clue, or they're totally saying the opposite of what you believe as far as energy, good. Here's one thing I would be worried about. If people just ran for utilities board, do you think we might have candidates that just run and say, I'm going to cut your utilities bill? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut your utility. I think that could be pretty attractive to voters, because a lot of voters, the ones in this room, aren't normal voters. And that's good. But you're different because you're here. A lot of people, they're going to get a flyer in the mail and says, these 3 candidates will cut your utility rates, and they're going to pull the lever for those 3 candidates. That's a concern. I'm not necessarily, I'll listen to the arguments. Back when Don Knight was on the board, they did vote on this. It came to a vote, and it failed 5-4. They decided not to do it. There was he and I talked about this today, and in fact, he voted for it back then if the citizens could elect the board of utilities like they do city council. But I have concerns that when people are only running for that, it can almost be a race to the bottom, where you make more and more promises on what you're going to do with rates, because that's really what people care about. And I don't blame them, because it's coming out of their pocket. So I'm worried about that. We know. We'll talk more. Okay, Barry. I'm going to start on the right and go left.
So on what he, kind of following on what he was saying, if there's, say the city council are sitting as board members on the utilities, if there is no one specific expert, isn't it your job anyway to research and to seek out experts for advice so you can do your job as a board?
Yeah.
And you would do that anyway, correct?
Utilities has the experts, right? The utilities staff, the utilities officers they've been in utilities for decades. None of us have that level of knowledge or expertise. I think you're electing, what you really should be doing is electing people with common sense that are going to work in your interest as council members. The other thing I would worry about with a board that was purely elected as utilities board members is they could have big agendas to go in there and start changing things around in one direction or the other. Whereas when it's city council, I would say we're looking out for the citizens' interest, but we're also not trying to grab the steering wheel from the CEO who we hire, and then really it's on him. And city council only hires and fires 2 people, if I'm remembering straight. Actually, we have 3. One of them is the CEO of utilities, and we do that as the board of utilities. So, did I answer your question?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I was just figuring that even though you may not be a specific expert, you're still going to go to an expert if you need to, or have
Absolutely. Yeah.
have a broader view for the city's well-being as well.
That's true. Yes, ma'am.
I have 2. The first one, you mentioned the Constitution deal.
Yeah.
And it's my understanding that they're talking about doing either Fillmore or Uinta, trying them for a new east-west.
To widen Fillmore?
Yeah, Fillmore or Uinta. Is that right?
I think that's in Connect COS to study those roads. So it's not even close to being there's any money set aside or there's a plan. It's we should evaluate that, and it makes sense.
Okay.
What's that?
I said it's just up here somewhere then. All right.
Yeah, and that you can go on the website, to coloradosprings.gov. You'll be able to find that Connect COS document, and you can look in there at Fillmore.
Okay.
The goal on Constitution was to pull it out of that group because
Right,
we didn't
I
want to
understood.
jam it through
And
the.
you did a
I
great
didn't
job
want
on
to.
that. I want the same thing for Uinta. They don't need to do that with Uinta either.
Okay.
Too many homes. The second question is the monstrosities that they're planning on building, like the 26-story building.
I think it's 36.
36, even better. And then there's another, 12-story something or other that they want to throw in there?
I would just let me do this. Well, I mean, it's hard to raise your hand in a group because you don't want to be like, but who thinks there should be some kind of height restriction downtown?
I had no idea there wasn't.
Okay. So is there anybody that thinks that it's good the way it is with none?
Can the fire department fight a fire that high? That should be.
Yeah, but I mean, other cities have buildings that tall, so I don't think that is necessarily the limiter.
It is. You may lose your life.
And they would have to, we may have them come and speak next week, but for me, it's not just the fires, it's like the character of
That's
Colorado
right.
Springs.
That's right.
Do we want to become Denver? So what was your question though?
Well,
What about it?
Is that imminent? Is it still stoppable? Have they already
Absolutely.
poured the
That
concrete?
hasn't, and someone sent me an email yesterday, and here's the answer, is that the tall building, it hasn't been submitted to planning department yet. So it isn't quasi judicial. It went through the Urban Renewal Authority, which looks at it for potential urban renewal impact and actually tax kind of breaks to put it in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I figured this would be a topic you'd be interested in, and that's why I told you that net on December 11th in front of council, and because you're a council member, asked for it, and you have to have 3 council members that agree that they want to hear about this, and we actually have more than that. We're going to get a presentation on that, and then we're going to put our heads together and see.
December 11th?
Yeah. So you probably maybe see it in the Gazette, if you get the Gazette, or you see it in the news the next day.
Get it. I rarely take the time to read it. Maybe I should.
Well, that's a tough thing, because unfortunately, that's where a lot of city council news or local news gets reported, is in the Gazette. And I think a lot of people have stopped getting the Gazette because they feel like they're not getting accurate information, or or other reasons.
I depend on Rebecca and
Yeah.
her friend.
Yeah.
That email.
But a lot of times Rebecca will link to, other articles. And so when they,
Yeah, she does.
like I read the article about the budget today, and I'm telling you, if you go watch it, and that's one thing about City Council, every one of our work sessions and regular sessions is recorded. I don't know how interesting it is, but you can watch them online, and they're there. You can watch them through Facebook. You can watch them online. And what I see in the newspaper compared to what happened in that room is way different. Okay, I raised a lot more of a ruckus than what it says.
I know the Gazette's gotten bad that way,
Yeah.
especially on who caused 2A to fail.
And I'll say this: the reporters, reporters have opinions and views about the world, and that might be, I'll just say that might be reflected in how they report and who they quote and who they suppress and don't quote so much. Anyway,
It's true.
what other questions? Yes, Woody.
A comment first. Like Jim and I, we remember when I was a council manager form of government, and when Bill Talton took over utilities as the first separated from the city. My concern now is that the education of the citizens needs to be enhanced somewhat. It's how this whole thing run. Like for one side, we got the police report to the mayor. The fire chief reports to the mayor. But if he wants any money, he has to come to you to get it. And I think we get bogged down who can.
It's not quite that good. I wish it was like that.
There used to be.
The city council passes the budget like right now. We just did it, and it is out of our hands. It's the mayor's baby. The mayor is charged with enforcing the laws of the city. So I kind of interrupted you, but I agree with what you're saying. That I wish citizens were. I wish I had been more informed before I ran for council. I've learned it. Obviously, you probably hope I learned a lot by now, and I have. But I realized, man, citizens just don't know. It's like that vote yesterday. They just didn't know. So we need to do a better job of that. Maybe I'll even try to do that. Maybe I'll try to have like an educational series. The problem is, like poor Alex back there, he's not getting paid for this. He's on his own time. He's away from his family. So every time that we do a town hall, there's 9 of us. There's 9 council members. Guess how much does a council member make? How much does the mayor make?
Yeah.
120?
Yeah, the mayor makes like over 100,000. Who's the highest paid person in the city?
Yeah, way overpaid.
No, I'm not utilities, but the city. I think it's the city attorney who makes 200. We just raised her.
Just raised her over.
But anyway, city council $6,250 a year. But yeah, so Alex, he's here. We have a staff of. Is it 7 or
8?
8? Is that counting Yolanda's?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have 7 people for 9 of us. 2 of them work upstairs and they're really answering phones, putting stuff on calendars, doing that kind of stuff. 1 helps Yolanda Avila, who represents District 4, and she is visually impaired, so that she's just the assistant to her. And that leaves 5 others to do everything, right? Alex does kind of the media stuff. And that is why if you remember this, when I sent an email to the chief financial officer and asked for some numbers on the budget and got an email back from the mayor saying, why do you want to know? And who else wants to know? That's a problem because we don't have a staff to do the research. We don't have enough people. And we may come up with different numbers than the official office of finance. So that's why that got blown up when it did. What else, Woody?
My point was,
Run out of time.
we need to do more
Yeah.
to engage the citizens. And I think the way Alex does is wonderful. I can't wait every Friday to get what he's going to send me. So
Yeah.
I can be aware of what's happening. And the more people that find out about the AI access that we have to data and stuff now, I think the more participation you have. Because I sit there at work sessions and at the board session, at my house and my whatever. and I can listen and hear everything. If I want to chime in,
Yep.
I can. But
Yep.
how many people really know that that's
Very few. Hell, how many vote? Also about that citizen comment, you can comment by phone. So you can even do it from your house. You don't have to physically come down there, although I'd say it's more effective to come in person. Yes, ma'am.
I can answer that question. It's up to each individual to do their own research, because this is what my high school teachers taught us. There's no excuse for ignorance. There's an answer. You have to know. You have to keep asking. Say you're looking for something, you ask. If they don't know, you know somebody that might know. And eventually you'll get to the right person.
Yeah, and that's true, but I'm gonna wrap it up though. Hey, a lot of citizens are very busy. Okay, they're raising families, they're going to work. Okay,
But if it affects my taxes, I
All right.
want to know why.
well, you're the role model.
No, I'm not perfect.
No, I didn't say you were perfect. I mean, it's the role model on
A
that.
doctor says to me,
Okay.
you're not perfect, you're never gonna be perfect, so just give it up.
That's what my wife tells me.
So I make average mistakes, I make lots of mistakes.
Okay,
Now, can
thank
I
you.
retort, though?
Well, I don't want to debate. We got like 10 minutes.
I
Final
understand
statement.
people have to seek information, but a lot of times, Dave, you don't know what you don't know.
I agree.
So if you have this thing available, get it out there and let us know about it. And then if we don't do it, then.
How do people even know about this town hall?
Yeah.
I found out about it like the person here did just a couple hours ago on Nextdoor of all things.
Well, that's good. Now, this is Alex's job, so I want you to get on I want everybody here to get on that mailing list before you leave here. If you signed in and he's got your email, you're gonna start getting it. I think it's that simple. Is it, Alex?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you're gonna start
If you've
getting,
never been to a town hall, then how would you have known?
ma'am, I've only been on council for 2.5 years. I haven't solved all the problems.
I went and looked on COS.gov.
Yeah.
For city council, nothing about town halls.
I found out about it through Facebook.
So I'm just curious.
I didn't know they existed.
Well, everybody here has been immunized then because you're gonna start getting these things. Was there a question over here? No? Huh?
No, I was just gonna make a statement that, like, I was asleep, ever, until 2020. And then I woke up to all kinds of stuff. I read a lot of discernment, and questioned a lot of things that weren't making sense. And the media taught me that, so and then I started forget the media, and I started doing, my husband's a detective, right? So then I'm picking up skills, and so that's when I go on the city site. I know it's on Facebook, but I'll go watch it on their site. I dig, I look at all kinds of stuff. So, they can only do so much. They're on Facebook, they're talented, they're getting out, but
Yeah, what I'm
You said
asking
wake it up
is,
again.
let us help you. I said that at the council meeting that day, I want to be a town crier. If you want something out there, tell me about it.
Go stand on the street corner.
Which district? District 4? Are you District 4?
Yes.
All right.
And so you know.
Where's your town hall? When's the last time Yolanda had a town hall?
She had one when the mayor made me.
That was the mayor's town hall.
Yeah, so now I've been working with Yolanda on that with School District 2, and we're gonna have a civic engagement.
All right, that's good.
Never been invited to one of the mayor town councils.
What other questions are there? And we can talk about that, the mayor's town halls.
Do you have plans to get on social media to
All right,
push?
so that's a good one. I've actually written that down. I forgot to say it. I think that's my New Year's resolution here. I was on social media I ran for House District 16 back in November. And man, it is,
Full-time job.
well, you got to keep updating it, but also people are just extraordinarily rude on social media. So I don't really like that kind of interaction. We won't do that to each other in here, but on there, it's, why don't you shut up and sit down, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I think I need to, and someone else was telling me this today, is I just need a place, I've written editorials, I've sent them to the Gazette, and then I'm hoping they're gonna print it, right? But instead of that, I should have a place I can just post it, And then, and also, I mean, those in this room could follow that, and I could link things to it, and you would get it, versus me hoping the media, the news is going to cover it. So it's a good idea.
Yeah, even just
I accept
post
it.
little quick videos of something you want to get out on.
You're right.
the channel.
You're right. You're right. It is a matter of
Instagram
time.
and not social media, all that stuff, but just a YouTube thing, you're not going to get as much back and forth.
Yep,
You're right.
like Facebook, Lineweber, David, I'm probably butchering his last name. You can go back in his Facebook page and he was all over when he was running. And gone.
Yeah. I will just, for me, I mean, I won't speak for any other council person. Man, there's a lot of stuff I try to do, and there's just so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
And so it gets tough, but maybe I'll find somebody to help out with
Maybe a
that.
podcast.
A podcast?
That seems to be the new big. I've never listened to one.
I listen to podcasts all the time,
Do
so
you?
I do. But we have 5 minutes left, so are there any other questions?
Thank you for letting me come and visit your town.
It's cool. You can be an honorary District 1 citizen. We'll adopt you.
I want you to know that you guys, I understand because I was there. And I appreciate how the revolutionary changes, well, the evolutionary changes is being made in a revolutionary way. Being 71 and back in 30 years ago, when we talked about all this stuff, right, Jim, when you used to walk down the street with your bag, your own, people really had to dig for stuff. But now with the access of social media and AI, we just want to know where to go back.
Well, I
So on, I do want to put this out, is on coloradosprings.gov, right, and Alex you're going to start getting his newsletter, I believe. The agenda is published before the work session and the regular session. It has to be published a certain amount of time before that. So you can see what is council going to be talking about at those meetings. And that comes to you in the computer now. It used to be, you would have to probably go down to City Hall and look
Each
on.
item is linked to the backup material.
Yeah, and that's true. Each item is linked, but this will tell you a little about me. I get the paper version at my house. They deliver it before council because I like to have paper and be able to highlight it and write on it and mark it up and do all that stuff. Yeah. Yes, Sandy.
You just forgot what I was going to say.
Okay, that's your chance.
No. The Tuesday meetings where you can have a citizen can comment. Did you say earlier that they cannot comment on what was covered?
They can't, on Monday, that day, citizens can come and watch, but you can't get up and speak.
Oh, okay. But whether it's on the agenda for the Tuesday meeting or not, it doesn't matter. They can comment on anything.
On Tuesday, if you come there, when we have citizens comment kind of at the beginning, it is for items not on the agenda that day. So if that day we're going to be voting on the budget, Jim Bensberg had to wait until the budget came up. Then he got his chance to speak. But like if you came on the 12th, you could speak about Blodgett because Blodgett's not on the agenda that day. But if it's, say, the hearing yesterday about that zone change for the gas station, those people, if they had come, they would have to speak when that item was up. They can't talk at the beginning of the day about something that's going to be on the agenda later. Does that make sense?
And there's a nice chat room too, right? You can talk to other people who are viewing the meeting.
I'll tell you what, it's worth coming to at least one city council regular session. It really is. I think you would be impressed.
Tuesday, but I'm kind of in the middle of some stuff and I couldn't make it.
The only final thing I'll point out is, I think this is fair. On city council, there's one council man or woman who received no donations from developers. Any guesses?
You.
That's right. So my voting record, it doesn't mean because someone took those donations, doesn't necessarily mean anything. But just look at the way I vote. And I think You'll be happy with that. I'll say that as we wrap this up, that when I consider things like that zone change yesterday, I look at it from, you have to follow the criteria. There's criteria whether you vote to approve it or not approve it. But I'm considering it from the citizens'
You do a good job.
perspective.
And you're a lone wolf, that's very concerning.
And with that, if there's no other questions, it is 7 o'clock, and Alex told me he does have to get out of here and get home. Seriously. So thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you so much for watching. My name is Kevin James Bond. I'm a real estate agent with RE/MAX Real Estate Group. Unrelated to this video, but if you are looking to buy or sell property in the Colorado Springs area, let me know. More importantly, if you got something out of this video, if you have something to comment, some additional feedback, some concerns, some complaints, some praises, put it down in the comments below, because I want to get that engagement. I want to get people involved in understanding what's going on with their district here in Colorado Springs. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.